everyone, my name is Amantlan Sala and I'd like to officially welcome you to the Active and Human podcast. Join me as I take you through a journey of storytelling that recognizes the disruptive impact that the Gen Z have made in the various spaces that they have plunged into. These will be moments where we appreciate impact, influence, and hard work. So sit down and stay tuned.
Yeah, let's start.
Finally, it took you long enough.
Yeah, after so many delays, were you like mad? Because we kept on postponing so many times from the 9th to like the 17th to I think, this week.
I mean, I wasn't necessarily mad because I know how long it takes to like do something that's creative, so.
Yeah, the whole production was so slow, but I guess we're finally here. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure, actually.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I should introduce you myself. Because I know I'm going to be real with the way I introduce you. I'm going to be very honest with the people because I think they deserve nothing but authentic content. Or I should just let you know, say whatever it is that you want to say.
Why are you making it seem like I'm gonna lie?
No, I mean, I want to tell my first time experience with you.
Okay, go ahead, but don't lie.
You know what, never mind. Let me just give you the platform to this is your show too. I mean, I am the host, man. You are the interview. So take it away. Give us your amazing introduction.
I wouldn't say it's amazing, but my name is Kagiso, and I guess the more you listen to this, the more you get to know.
Short and brief. Okay, so we're not going to get into your topic just yet. We have a few icebreaker questions over here. We need you to be completely honest.
Something I do often, but okay.
Okay. Controversial, but okay. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then you're going to give me the answers. It's nothing hectic. It's just a bit gentle, you know. So take your time, think about your answers because at the end of the day, we need authentic content. You get me? What's the best piece of advice you've ever given? Not received, given.
Take your time. There's no rush to satisfy anyone.
Okay, that makes sense, okay.
Does it, really?
I don't know, I guess it depends on what situation you're in.
In the sense that you guys, in this situation, you guys had delays to actually record this, but you took your time and here we are.
Yeah. Okay, are you ready for the next one?
Sure.
I feel like you won't have an answer to this one, but we're just gonna try. What old people things do you do?
Pardon?
What old people things do you do? Come on, everyone has to have a habit. Like you have to have that thing. You're like, okay, this one I definitely take it from my uncle. Or just like an old people habit that you've just decided to start doing, or just not decided but just start doing.
I don't know what old people things are. I wouldn't even lie. Like reading a newspaper, that's an old people thing.
You read newspapers?
I did not say that. I'm asking if it's a old people thing.
Okay, nah.
I don't know, to be honest.
No, it's not, especially in the modern age that we're living in. I think our generation wants to be like informed always.
So would you read a newspaper?
Yeah, I would. I mean, right now I can't.
That's the first lie, but okay.
No, like right now I won't because there's nothing entertaining about a newspaper.
Okay.
In our country, because there's nothing there's nothing ever new or fresh in the newspaper. Like I'd rather watch like the news, not the newspaper.
Okay.
But what's like old people thing you do?
I don't do anything, to be honest. Like I don't do anything that's old people like.
Oh, you just haven't noticed it. Let's just leave it at you just haven't noticed it.
Okay, sure.
Okay. The next one. If you say you don't have an answer to this one, you're going to be lying.
I said I don't have an answer to one question, and that's gonna judge everything.
What's the most embarrassing moment from your teen?
That's crazy. I don't have one. That is so crazy. Like my whole life.
See, if I had told the story of the first experience I had with you, it would all make sense as to why.
Okay, what is the question? Let's hear the question.
What's the most embarrassing moment from your teens? Come on, you want to tell me there is never that moment that when you think about, it's like, why did I do that? You must be the most boring person ever, or you're a liar.
Okay, I'm about to say it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know, but like probably like slipping and falling or something like that.
Wait, are you one of those guys who also finds it embarrassing to hold an umbrella?
Nah, dog, like nah.
That's or to bring an umbrella to school?
Nope, you will catch me with an umbrella 90% of the time. It's hot, dog, or it's raining, so I don't think it's embarrassing. Do you?
No, it's never a girl thing. Like when I was in varsity, when I was in school, people used to talk about how it's embarrassing for a guy to be bringing an umbrella. Apparently it's giving gay vibes. I don't even understand that concept. So I wanted to ask if you are one of the people who, perceive it to be Okay.
I mean, some girls may deem it as not manly, you know, so that's why I'm asking.
Really? That's a thing in Gabs?
Why would you say in Gabs?
I'm sorry, that's a thing?
But yeah, it is.
Okay, so have you experienced a culture shock?
A culture shock?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Maybe I've experienced it, but then like maybe I've been oblivious to it, if you get what I
Do you
mean.
consider yourself an ignorant person?
Just because I said I was
No,
oblivious to
I'm just,
something.
this is the, come on.
I don't think I'm an ignorant person.
You know,
per se.
let me just ask the last question because clearly, okay, what's your guilty pleasure?
My go-to pleasure.
Your guilty pleasure.
My guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Guilty pleasure. Just a solo date, literally.
Your guilty pleasure is a solo date?
Yeah,
Why?
because I really get to like take myself out type shit, so.
Why, is it like you're always out?
No, because I barely get to take myself out. You see, I don't like how you just.
No, I just want
twisting
people to understand the type of person that you are.
And what's the type of person that I am?
I don't know.
Clearly-
I mean, I also want to know. I'm part of the audience as well.
I mean, clearly you've been trying to say the type of person I am. So let's hear your first
I
impression.
do not. This is
of
the
me.
thing. I'd like to leave people to form the opinion that they want people to have of them, especially on this show. See, we're here to talk about your story, so you get to mold whatever opinion you want people to have of yourself. So you mentioned that your name is Kagiso. That's all you. That's all we know right now. So I want you to just like give us a little bit of synopsis of how exactly you grew up. You know, just so that we can get to know the type of person that you are. Because your topic is growth out of complexity. How normal can I get? So I think we need to go back to your childhood and just kind of figure out how exactly we're going to unpack some of the topics we're going to be discussing today.
Okay. Well, I grew up staying with my mother most of my time. So I didn't stay with my dad for most of the part. I stayed with my mother, and yeah, man, she just, in a way, shaped me to be the person that I am today and just instilled a lot of morals that reflect on me today. And she plays a huge part in just who I am right now. But no discredit to my father also. He was also there, but just not as much as emotionally available, you know. So yeah, man, that's the type of person I am growing up. That's just how I grew up. Anything that I'd like to add on would probably be like, I think that's all.
I was watching this other episode and the people were talking about how normally when a child grows up, they're mostly close to the parents, the mother's side of the family. So then they started unpacking why they think it's that way. And they just felt like boy children always have this mindset that, I don't know, somehow they detach from family. And so whenever they have their own family, they kind of do the same thing with their children. So how true do you think that is? Because I think you're closer to your mom's side of the family too.
I mean, I don't think it's 100% true. You know, I mean, all of these things are things that can be formulated. But I do feel like as a boy, maybe, I don't know, as a boy, I do feel like you gravitate towards your mother more, just that warmly love that she gives. Where I grew up, my dad was just basically like more of a person who would just put me in place. You know, so I just gravitated towards him in the sense that when I needed like knowledge or just what to do, but not necessarily when I need someone to just talk about things that are personal.
Do you think that kind of like impacted the way you see life as well? Because like obviously there's certain problems you'd go to your dad about and you wouldn't go to your mom about. Has that kind of like created, I would say maybe a gender thing in your mind where you're like, okay, same applies in life. I could go to girls about this problem, but just not to my boys.
I mean, what you said is correct. There are certain things that I feel like I can only tell my mom and not my dad, and vice versa. But with the whole gender thing, it really doesn't matter to me. It just depends on how close I am to you. It's just a chat of, it's not that I'm not telling you because you're a girl or a boy. I'm just telling you because, I'm just not telling you because we're not that close yet. So I don't feel like that's necessarily true. It just depends on how our relationship works and just the dynamics behind that.
So do you think that, okay, so I once had a conversation with a friend of mine, and it was like, he asked me if there is free will. And I think in that question, he wanted me to kind of like wonder if the person we become is shaped by our experiences or it's just a coincidence. So I just wanted to know, because obviously you had a specific childhood. So I want to know if you think your childhood also shaped you to become the type of person that you are, or you chose to become the person you are?
I feel like my childhood certainly played a part in forming who I am. At the end of the day, I could grow up experiencing all sorts of bullying, but I can decide to not partake in that. You get me? It's not necessarily meaning that because I grew up experiencing 1, 2, 3, I'm gonna let that dictate the rest of my life. So I just feel like in the sense that when you grow up experiencing something, it depends on you whether you wanna reflect on it and keep it going, like keep it as a generational thing, or whether you wanna change that. So that's how I feel.
Okay, so you mentioned bullying, and I think that's one thing that mostly girls, face, and that's probably again a conception that people have that okay, the one person who's probably going to face bullying is, a girl. Have you experienced any form of bullying, and which part of your life did you experience it, and also how did you deal with it?
I mean, bullying. Yeah, I have faced bullying. I guess probably like in primary. Just like I don't know how to explain it, but then the primary bullying, right? Like maybe, for example, maybe a name, right? Maybe my tooth gap, people make fun of it, if that's still known as bullying, but then people make fun of it. And the way that I dealt with it would probably just be, maybe I haven't dealt with it, but then the way that I dealt with it would probably just be learning to accept myself for who I am and just being comfortable in who I am. Because at the end of the day, you're not living to live by other people's expectations. You're living to fulfill yours. So the minute that you have that mentality, it's just kind of like a confidence booster, So yeah.
So you obviously had like body insecurities as well, and that's one thing that I think people don't think boys have, because if you talk about body insecurities, you probably think that a girl would face that. So I don't know, how do you think all these conceptions have kind of like affected you also mentally? Because it's like, obviously, if you want to start a conversation about how you probably are insecure about your head or this, people won't take you seriously because you're a boy. So how do you think that has kind of like affected your mental health as well?
I mean, it just molds you to just keep things to yourself and just be secluded from wanting to express yourself freely, because you're afraid of what people will say to you or about you behind your back. So it just creates this little oyster that just enables you to just always be in your own world, always keep things to yourself. And even if you are going through things like maybe suicide or bullying or just depression as a boy, because I'm saying from a boy's perspective, it just makes you want to keep more things to yourself and rather just focus on filling that void with other things, maybe like picking up a sport or just something like that.
Do you think that's why like most men succumb to like suicide? Because I think a report was like released, is it late last year, where they were talking about how most men now decide to just take their own lives. Do you think it's because of also their childhood, how they were like kind of like orchestrated to think that they shouldn't talk about certain things because of their gender? Do you think that's the reason why most men are taking their lives now?
I mean, it could be a reason. It could be a reason. In a society whereby it is very hard to open up as a man, it could be a reason as to why most men do decide that maybe it's a bit too much or maybe they cannot take it anymore. So it could be a reason. I believe it could be. Do
you think also, again, the fact that you stopped yourself from being as expressive as you wanted to be affected your relationship as well? Like from maybe a young age till now, does it affect how you express your emotions to people? I'm assuming there are moments where you genuinely want to show a person that you genuinely care, or you want to be vulnerable, and it's like the first thing you think about is, oh wait, I'm a man, so I can't be way too nice or way too this.
You have to be a tough nut to crack, like at the end of the day, being a man, I like to believe that most men do believe this, like you have to make sure that whatever you go through, you just take it with the chest and just keep it moving, because at the end of the day, you're a man, like not a lot of people are gonna necessarily care about what you're going through, but that's just what I think though. Okay. So yeah, it has affected me in a way, but I cope with it.
Okay, so since we're having the conversation about the things that men are supposed to do and women are supposed to do, you're someone who's very expressive in terms of fashion. You're someone who likes talking about styling or whatever, and traditionally that's perceived a woman thing. So how do you just move through the conversations like, oh, I'm so excited to plan this outfit with your boys, obviously, because the first thing, if they have the backward notion that other people carry, the first thing they think about is, why is this guy excited about dressing up? So how do you like do that?
A huge factor to that would have to be my father, to be honest, because he's always inspired me to always look good, feel good, to do good, right? So looking at him, like transition from the person he was to now and just how excited he is. Like he's probably like pushing 50 right now, but he's still excited when he dresses up or just gets a new piece of clothing. And I just believe that it's the little things that truly matter. I could get a pair of socks right now. I'm still gonna be excited for it because that's something that makes me happy. And I feel like if you don't find those little things that truly bring happiness to you, then life is not gonna be worth living. So I just feel like in a world whereby a lot of things can shake you or just shake up your identity, clothing can be something to just staple who you are and just make you stand out.
Okay, that makes sense. So, the kind of like the society we live in right now is mainly concentrated on how women are upbringing their children. And in most of the episodes that we're going to film, we'll probably find situations where people talk about the importance of how the mother like sort of like raised them. So I want you to like talk to me about how you believe a father's role is important in a child's upbringing.
In my perspective, my father has always been a role model to me. Seeing how he provides for the people close to him, seeing how a lot of people always rely on him to just make a way, it has just always inspired me. So I just feel a father's role is important in the sense that every son or every male figure has someone to look up to. So I just feel like it's important to have that special someone, more especially someone, you know, what he takes care of you. No matter what you're going through, that person is always going to take care of you. You get me? So I just feel like it's very important to have that fatherly love, because as a man, just having that manly love, it's rare nowadays. So if you have that, cherish it.
You know, one topic that people normally don't talk about is the subtle hate for men. Like, you know how we all have these feminists who are always talking about how we should end misogyny and promote women empowerment, but there's also a factor of we have all these young boys who are suffering because of these stereotypes that society has kind of like pushed forward. So I want you to kind of talk to me about how it was growing up in such a society as well, like having to maneuver from a point where, okay, you're in primary and all of that didn't matter, to high school you're forced to act a certain way, to also being in a situation where you're facing an identity crisis because, I mean, you're moving from high school to varsity, so you need to figure out who exactly you want to become. So how do you deal with the fact that there's this person that society wants you to become and there's this person that you feel like is important for you to become?
I had to adapt to a certain philosophy called being a student of life, in the sense that in every chapter of my life, I feel like there's something new to learn. So I don't look at people judging me or just expecting me to be a certain way as a challenge. I just look at it as their own mistake, because I don't have to fulfill that or live up to that. I'm not saying that people saying that men should be like stop being misogynist and all that is a bad thing. I'm just saying I don't let it define who I am. You get me?
Yeah.
Like luckily, I was raised by a person who just believes strongly, even my grandma, who just believes strongly in the morals, like my dad, right? So once I have something, or just once I have a certain mentality, it's very hard to make me change from it. Not saying that I'm ignorant.
Okay, so you're moving from high school, right? And I feel like as you go to different institutions, like from primary, there are certain prejudices there, high school, there are certain prejudices, and then there's varsity. Tell me about the certain prejudice that you faced, or probably seen your friends face, especially your male friends in varsity. And how do you think it has affected them as well, from the male's perspective?
Okay. I don't know, man. Just trying to be enough, you know, enough in the sense that whether it may come to like having the nicest clothes, or just having a car, or just having certain things that just deem you as cool. You know, some people, just a couple of friends of mine, you know, who usually struggle with things like skincare, which you may think may not happen to a male, but just people who just struggle with things like skincare, pimples, or whatever. They just always struggle with just stepping out and just being seen, you know, but because they're men, they have to like try and put like a suit of armor over it. You know, so those are just some of the problems that I've seen some of my friends go through, and just I've gone through also. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming you've like went through a an identity crisis where you're figuring out like who exactly you want to do, and in that moment there's certain things that you do that you don't necessarily want to do but you end up doing, and it's just part of the journey of discovering yourself. So I want you to like go back to those moments and maybe give me an example of things that you've done but you wouldn't have done now that you've discovered the type of person that you want to be. And maybe like, I don't know, give your younger self advice. Like, what's one thing that you wish you could have taken in mentally during that point in your life?
There was a time I was really like insecure about my smile and just uncomfortable with it because of how people would react to it growing up. So one thing that I regret doing was just not smiling more, simply because I thought people wouldn't find it attractive or just okay. So an advice I would give to my younger self would just be, it would have to be finding perfection in being imperfect and just allowing yourself and embracing yourself to know that even though I'm not perfect, the only thing that matters is how I view myself, the man in the mirror, not how other people view me. Because people can change how they view me tomorrow, but then how I view myself, that's how I'm gonna live throughout my whole life.
I think men's mental health is a bigger issue than society thinks it is, right? So do you think there should be more like initiatives to kind of like bring in or like create a space where young people, especially males, should feel comfortable with like expressing their emotions? And like, how do you think we could go about it? I mean, right now the main focus is women, which is not wrong because I mean, we've witnessed what has happened in the past. But how do you think we can just like bring in a conversation where we're like, okay, fine, we are trying to solve this problem, but at the same time, let's not like leave room for another problem to be created?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I don't know how we could necessarily just have centers for men to be open, because different people go through different things. For me, I may say that for me to be more open, I need my parents to just be more interested in what I'm going through. Another male may feel like for me to be more open, I need to see more groups of male just gathering to just talk about how they feel. So I don't know, it just depends on who you are and what you've been through. Some people may be struggling with making friends, and maybe that's what they need, just groups of men who just hang out, maybe watch soccer and just socialize. Some people may have problems with just how they look. So I don't know, I really don't know.
Okay, so we're talking about like, you know, self-discovery and all of that, and I was kind of like thinking about the whole idea of finding your purpose, you know. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that you're one of the people who've kind of like figured out how they want their lives to be, you know. So I want to understand, like, what do you think is the importance of finding your purpose? And does it like have to align with your career? Because there's also there's your purpose and then there's your career. Your career is probably something that you want to venture in, and that's why you're going to varsity to get the qualifications. And then there's a purpose. Do you think that your purpose should be the same thing as your career? And again, how important is it to find your purpose at a younger age?
I mean, finding your purpose is important because if you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. So just having something that motivates you or just helps you not lose focus in what you truly want to do in this world, it's really important. It really is. In a world whereby so many things are constantly changing, it's hard to keep yourself sane and just not lose yourself in the midst of everything that's happening. So I feel like finding your purpose just helps you keep a level head, keep calm, even when you're going through the worst of situations. Finding your purpose can always help you just be like, all right, cool. Today might have been a bad day, but it's not a bad life. And I don't think it has to align necessarily with what your dream path is going to be or what your career is going to be. I mean, I could have a career that has nothing to do with my purpose. Like, it's okay to do that. It's absolutely okay. Like, it's okay to diversify. It's okay to have multiple things that you want to do in life. And it's also okay to fail at some of these things. Not saying that you guys are going to fail, but it's also okay to fail and embrace that failure as a lesson.
Do you think you found your purpose in life? And then if you did, if you think you have, take us through that journey. Like, how do you know that, okay, fine, this is it. This is what I feel like my purpose is?
I feel like at this age, I'm still learning. Like, I'm still learning with everything that's happening around me. I'm still learning more about myself. So I haven't necessarily found my purpose, but I do have a vision of where I want to be at a certain stage in my life. And so yeah, I just feel like at this stage, it's all about learning, experimenting, knowing what's good for you or what's bad for you. And at the same time, being patient, not rushing the process, because the process has to make it all worth it.
I'm thinking that our generation is one of the generations that are kind of like hands-on in terms of everything. And at some point, people feel the pressure that, okay, I'm not doing enough as much as I should be doing. And I think growing up in the city or just in a place that gives exposure to so many people, especially of your age, you kind of obviously experience that pressure. So I want you to tell me how you deal with that and how you just calm yourself and understand that, okay, fine, my path is probably not the same as his path, and so I'm just going to follow what I think is best for myself.
Okay, so what I do is basically believe in myself and just set out goals that even if I don't attain them at a certain time, I just know that cool, I've set to do this, and even if I've obtained maybe 2 out of the 5 that I set out for myself, I still believe in myself. I believe in my craft. I believe in my desires and my passion. So I understand that in life, there will be times whereby you feel like someone is doing better than you, someone your age is doing better than you, but at the same time, you have to understand that we're not necessarily here to compete. Everyone has their own path, and everyone is going to develop at their own timing. So I believe that just having that level head mentality and just believing in your craft and knowing that your time will come is very essential in a time like this, because yeah, man, a lot of people have cool things, man, but you just have to keep to yourself, keep doing what you love doing, keep believing in yourself, and with time you'll have everything that you want to, with the work also, of course.
Yeah, so I was having a conversation with
Hey, the conversation is
I have very intelligent conversations with people, so please.
Sure.
I was having a conversation with someone and they were telling me about how they're also in a very hectic industry, and she was she adapted to a moment where she's like, you know what, I'm going to talk to myself and just kind of institutionalize the idea of listening to my inner self. So I want to know, is that something that you have also tried implementing? And if you have, did you see any quantifiable change that you can just point out?
Yeah, I do feel like I do that sometimes, just talking to myself, because at the end of the day, I'm my biggest motivation. You know, I gotta look in the mirror and just be proud of the person that I am. So I do talk to myself in the sense that sometimes when I feel like other people won't necessarily understand what I'm going through, I can understand it, just try to just make myself comfortable. Even before this very interview, I had to talk to myself and be like, all right, cool, calm down and everything like that. So yeah, and have I seen any change? I mean, I'm here. I'd like to think that I'm doing okay, so yeah.
Okay. Now that makes sense. This is a random question. This is a very random question, but do you believe in polygamy? Is that something that you probably, not mind them in your...
Why? Anywho, do I believe in polygamy? No. What? No, I don't.
Okay, so let's just go back to this other story. I think you know this, about how there is Nick Cannon, and then he has all these ladies that he's having.
Shout out to him.
With.
But yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, people are talking about how, okay, this guy is just having children, but I'm thinking this guy is actually having a non-consensual polygamous relationship, because it's I think the only person who would have a problem with having a kid with him is probably Mariah. But with every other woman, it's okay, I'd want to have a child with him. And it's probably, again, because he has so much money. So that kind of makes me think, for a man to be considered worthy of time and attention and everything important, they have to kind of have materialistic things. So do you think that has kind of given you a certain pressure to work hard to gain materialistic things so that you can keep people around you?
I mean, most people do know. I'm assuming that we all know that a man is measured by what he has, and that's just how the society is. We can't change it. Has it motivated me to work harder? In a way, but not in a huge way. You get me? Like not in a way whereby I'm like waking up and I'm like, alright, cool. For this person to love me, I need to bust my ass off and just like start working 1, 2, 3, because that's just not gonna cut it. I just feel like if you're doing something because of how people are gonna perceive it or how people are gonna look at you, you're doing it all for the wrong reasons. You understand? So it doesn't really pressurize me into like wanting to work hard to have money and just keep certain people in my life or just have certain advantages. I don't think that has done it. So are you against what Nick Cannon is doing though?
I mean, obviously.
Why?
But I mean, you know what? The thing is, I wouldn't really say I'm against it because, like, it's not forcing anyone to do anything they don't want to do. So it's like everyone has given that consent, but then again, they haven't. If you get what I'm saying? Because I don't think anyone could openly be like, okay, I want to be in a polygamous situationship. Looking at the fact that it brings out a lot of insecurities. As much as they would want to do it for the money, but deep down they actually wouldn't. So I don't think there's an argument I could just lay and be like, he's wrong, he shouldn't do this, but yeah, I don't know, man. This is just a whole another like conversation. But I think we've unpacked everything.
Okay.
We've talked about everything today. Although you haven't asked me any question, but I guess I don't know. It's okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have another conversation. I hope you have another moment, another conversation. This is definitely educational and also relatable because I feel like we're able to talk about stuff from a male's perspective, which is something that is not normally done because we're always focusing on my gender, which is, again is important. But yeah, I think we'll just close off the show and say, yeah, thank you. Thank you.